Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. That is a live look at our Shriners camera right there overlooking downtown Portland. It is nice out, and it's going to be really nice this weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be getting out there into the water. I know that I want to, and as I mentioned, I'm sure a lot of you do too. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. We live stream here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom every weekday starting at 1, right after our noon news, and we go throughout the afternoon covering a wide range of topics. Today, though, we're talking about that since it is Labor Day. I'm sure a lot of people are getting out for your last-minute summer vacations, and it's going to be warm. It's nice. It's kind of perfect weather here. So people are getting into the water, but it's important to stay safe while you're doing so. It's easy to get a little bit relaxed on that and not think about the fact that even though it's really warm outside, the water can be a little bit cold still. So we wanted to just walk through some tips. We have Tom from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and in case you don't know, they manage a lot of the different dams and waterways here in the Northwest and in Oregon. In particular, we're going to be discussing that. So they just want you to stay safe while you're out there recreating and enjoying what we get to take advantage of here in the Northwest. So this is some good advice for everybody, whether you're an experienced swimmer or not, whether you have kids or not, experienced boater or not, all of that. It's good to just remind yourself of the different ways to stay safe. So that's what we talk about here. Tom, thank you very much, for joining us here today to talk about this. Obviously, with this warm weather coming in, and it being Labor Day, and everybody wants to get back out there for, those last-minute summer trips. A lot of people are going to be going to the water, but there's some important things to know about that. We're going to get into those tips. Before we do so, though, would you mind just telling us just a little bit about yourself and, of course, the U.S. Army Corps and just how that all ties into the different waterways and systems that we have here in the state?
Sure, yeah. So I work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as a public affairs specialist, and one of the things we try to do on a regular basis during the summer especially, but year-round, is highlight water safety for people who want to go recreate on lakes and rivers.
And
for the
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or in Oregon, just we don't have a ton in Portland specifically, but we do have a lot in the Willamette Valley and the Rogue River. So lakes that we primarily have dams at, and we want to make sure that people are out there recreating safely.
And you all are, taking care of those different, the dams, the lakes, those different areas. That's kind of, I guess, your responsibility.
Yeah, so we operate and maintain a bunch of dams in the Willamette and the Rogue River valleys, and we work with partners, so state agencies, also county agencies who might manage recreation areas as well. So we partner with them, but we have those lakes and we have lands associated with them, or parks nearby and boat ramps, and so people are out recreating a lot during the summer. And Labor Day is coming up, kind of the last major holiday before we start drawing down reservoirs, and so people are out there recreating, and we just want to make sure that people are mainly wearing their life jackets out on the water, because we as the Corps in general throughout the United States, last year we had I think 91% of fatalities on our waterways were people who were not wearing life jackets.
Wow. So it really does show how important that is. So, talking about the life jacket side of things, definitely important to have those. What are some of the other important things that people really need to be thinking about when they're heading out onto these lakes and rivers and trying to go enjoy that while they recreate?
So avoid alcohol while you're boating, and swimming is another big one that federal agencies, state agencies really like to reiterate. But another thing to keep in mind is, even with the air temperature being warm and perhaps pretty warm this weekend, a lot of our lakes and rivers are much colder, and so if you happen to fall in the river or lake and you're not prepared, sometimes that can cause a cold shock, and you're inhaling water involuntarily, and so you can start drowning if that happens. So if you don't have a life jacket, and if you are intoxicated and some other things, that can make it very hard to recover.
Is that one of the biggest things that you see?
A whole bunch of other. I mean, I think every drowning is probably unique, but that's definitely an issue, is that people aren't ready to go in the water. And so they're not wearing their life jacket, and then they potentially fall in and have that shock. So yeah, that happens a decent amount. And then just people just need to be aware of their surroundings and be prepared for something they're not expected. Sometimes the wind can pick up and make waves on even some of our lakes out here. That's happened at Fern Ridge before. And if you're already kind of tired from swimming and it's cold and your muscles aren't functioning very well, then sometimes that wave action can also make it hard to get back to shore if you need to.
Absolutely, that's something that you can do, or that can come up. When people are heading out to go out to the lakes or rivers, wherever they're going to end up going, are there some things they can do before they leave to make sure that they're prepared and knowledgeable about any situation that they're going to encounter out there?
Sure. So research is great to do before you're out. There was Oregon State Marine Board is a good resource. They have life jacket loaner stations at various places. Army Corps has some of those out there too. You can also go and look at the U.S. Geological Service. They can give you an idea of water temperatures at various gauges, and so you can just be aware that how cold the water actually is. And there's a bunch of other resources out there. Coast Guard has stuff for life jackets and making sure they fit right, and what's approved, those types of things. And if you're unsure, you could always contact some of the local authorities in your area, like a sheriff's office. I did see. I think it was Marion County had to rescue 2 people twice in one day on the Willamette because they were using probably inner tubes to float down the river, and those are not necessarily the best things to use when you're recreating on the river. There's also other sites that can tell you what maybe dams are on rivers that you're not aware of. Low head dams are a huge hazard that aren't always as noticeable, especially upstream, but also, it's not a huge concrete structure that you would see, from the road or something. So there's a bunch of hazards like that people can do a little bit of research and find out about.
For those people that have boats that are planning to take them out onto the water here over Labor Day, what are some important things they should be thinking about or be aware of for when they're out there on the water?
Kind of depends on where they're going for what body of water, but things in the river, if you're going to be on the river, because it flows a lot, there are things that move. So, tree branches and stuff, if maybe you were out a week ago and you saw something, it might not be there again. And that's why you kind of need to be aware of your surroundings and hopefully not intoxicated, because you need to be cognizant of those things.
Is that one of the biggest issues that you see, is people drinking too much and then going out onto the waterways and then getting themselves in trouble, whether they're on a boat or swimming or whatever it may be?
I mean, that's always a factor, is people, first of all, being just kind of unaware, because they're out there relaxing, enjoying themselves. But also people being intoxicated is an issue that I'm sure especially the sheriff's office could speak to more broadly, and same thing with the Oregon State Marine Board. But regardless of some of those issues that are out there that are dangerous, if you have a life jacket on, you're going to be much better off if you happen to be in the water and get into an accident. And even might sound a little bit morbid, but even if you do perish, if you have a life jacket on, it's a little bit better for recovery and better for the family, in the sense that they have somebody recovered from that.
Yeah, life jacket, it seems to be the big thing for people. So would you recommend they wear a life jacket like anytime that they're getting into the water?
I mean, we recommend that people wear a life jacket on or near the water. So like if you're on a boat, you should have a life jacket on. If you're kind of nearby the water and anticipate that you're nearby enough that you could fall into it, you should probably wear a life jacket. So even if you're standing on the shoreline fishing, it's a good idea to have a life jacket on. And I understand that they may seem like they're intrusive and they don't look cool. But hugely important. We see the numbers that we see for the Corps across the nation. So I said 91% of people were not wearing a life jacket who drowned. 94% of those people are males. And then about 87% were adults older than 18
Wow.
years old. So adults, we think we can swim. We grew up, we swam in a pool. We think we're strong, especially us males. Sometimes we think we're very impressive athletes. And that may be the case, but swimming in open water tends to be a lot different than paddling around in a pool. And then especially if you're intoxicated, if you fall in unexpectedly, or even if you fall in unexpectedly and don't have that gasping reflex. What if you hit your head and become unconscious? Like, you can't, like, no matter how much of an athlete or how strong you are, if you're unconscious and you're in the water, you're not going to be able to swim away from that. So those are some boring stats, and again, they're not super cool all the time. But there's a lot of different life jackets out there. There's some that just kind of wrap around your waist and they inflate if you hit the water, and so you can still get your suntan on. You can still feel like you're not having this huge jacket on. But there's definitely lots of options for people out there.
So really important to think about all those things. And I think just to highlight one other thing you brought up there too, just the cold water, that gasping thing that can happen if you get into that. Because despite the fact that it's been all summer long, the water is still not that warm when you're up in a lot of those places.
Yeah, and we have it's probably warmer now than it was earlier in the year, but there's still a big difference in the air temperature and water temperature, and it's a natural reaction. So people just have to be aware of that. And again, if you happen to fall in, gasp, and you don't have a life jacket on, like, it takes seconds, basically less than a minute, for you to kind of have an issue. And if somebody else is not paying attention, again, it can be problematic.
Anything else that you think is important for this weekend, just for people to know?
I just highlight, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but so even if you're prepared and even if you're out on the water all the time, wearing the proper equipment, you can still drown. So people just should be careful out there. My dad drowned in a kayaking accident in 2018, and he had his helmet on, he had his life jacket on, he had spray skirt. He's a semi-professional whitewater kayaker. It can happen to anybody. So and he was a big advocate for being safe on the water. And so again, even if you're doing a lot of things right, you can still have an accident. So we want people to be out there enjoying the water. We just want them to do it safely and to come home to their families.
I'm so sorry for your loss on that, and that really does highlight, just how important it is to stay safe out there, especially given, all those skills that you just mentioned there with him, and it can happen. So really important for people to pay attention to this and just be cognizant and aware. I would imagine is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things where you might know the body of water fairly well, but something changes within a week or a month, and then there's a hazard you're not expecting. So we talked about snags in the rivers, but even lake levels, if they drop, sometimes there's stumps, sometimes there's other rocks that you might not be aware of when you're cruising around in a motorized vessel or something that you could hit, and it'd be a little bit more hazardous than a kayak or something. But so just trying to be aware of those things and to take precaution. And the last thing I guess I'll highlight too is I think we do, for the most part, a pretty good job of making sure that kids are wearing life jackets, young kids, but the adults aren't necessarily modeling that behavior. So, they're an adult, maybe they're, again, not trying to swim or be out in the water, and they're not wearing their life jacket. So eventually that kid's going to notice that once I'm an adult, I don't have to wear this. So I think modeling that behavior for young kids is super important as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, for joining us and to talk about this and just get some more of this out there for everybody to be aware of the safety concerns. As much as everybody's going to go out there, you have fun, you enjoy all these things that we get to take advantage of here in the Northwest, but be aware of the dangers of it as well, because there is a lot of,
Exactly.
it's there. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 12 Now. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me and spreading the word.
All right. Huge thank you to Tom there for joining us just to talk about that, to go through, some of those different things to be aware of. Obviously, life jackets are important, and there are a lot of different kinds of life jackets out there that you can get. They aren't always, the old school bulky orange ones that some people may think of. There's some really good ones out there. So good safety tips. And again, the weather is going to be very nice over the weekend and into next week. We've got all those details for you at kptv.com or Fox 12 weather app. Always recommend that one as well. Good way to keep up with it. And yeah, just because we do have this camera pulled up here. Whoops, there we go. I was going to pull that up. That is a live look over there at Seaside right now, just for people wanting some context. There's a whole bunch of bubbles floating by there. I don't even know what's going on there. But anyway, just looking at one of our weather cams, taking a look at what people are going to be getting up to out there and enjoying the outdoors. But this is Fox 12 Now. We live stream here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom every weekday. We've got lots coming up here throughout the afternoon. For those of you who are watching live, we've been following along with the Oregon legislature with the ODOT funding hearings that are going on, and right now nothing's happening. I'm just going to be honest with you. So there's another delay on that. So when we do have any info for you on that, we will of course bring that to you here on Fox 12 Now and bring that live. But right now things sounds like have been delayed for another certain amount of time. We'll let you know as soon as we do. But otherwise, we'll take a break for right now, and we will talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.